on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06. You're listening to O'Connor and Company here, getting your day started the right way here in the nation's capital. Somebody's got to be right. And, well, you found the right place.
That's right.
To be right. It's America's Morning Show. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up a little later in the program, in just 30 minutes, talk about fighting Marxism. Cheryl Riley is trying to defeat Jamie Raskin right here in our backyard in the 8th District in Maryland. And, well, we're throwing all our support her way. I haven't even met her. I don't know anything about her, but she's running against Jamie Raskin, and I've checked out her website. She's got the full package. She's ready to go. Coming up at 8:05, She Van Fleet. She is a survivor of Mao's China, and she's got a brand new book called Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. That's coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor. She's Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
And joining us now is a woman that we both admire quite a bit.
Yes.
She's very smart. She's very articulate, a real champion for freedom, and she has to endure Sebastian Gorka on a daily basis. She is Katie Gorka. Katie,
she's a saint.
Thanks for joining us. Good to talk with you.
Hey, Larry and Julie. Really fun to be here.
Your new book, Next Gen Marxism. We keep using that. It's funny. Our language morphs quite a bit, and there was a time when we would refer to people as socialists or leftists or liberals or what have you. But it really is Marxism what we're seeing here. This is textbook Marxism in our textbooks right now.
Oh, absolutely. And, a lot of people ask me, is it really Marxism? Do they think of themselves as Marxists? And then I have to remind people, don't forget Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matters, has an infamous video where she says proudly to her audience, we are trained Marxists.
Yeah.
So, yes, they are Marxists.
So you co-authored this book, by the way, with another great American, Mike Gonzalez at Heritage Foundation. Love talking to him on a regular basis. Next Gen Marxism, what it is and how to combat it. So let's take it from there. What is it? Where do we see it? What's it doing to our country? And how do we combat it?
Well, first of all, it's really the difference with standard good old-fashioned Marxism is where that's focused on the workers. This is now focusing on immutable characteristics, things like race, gender, ethnicity. And where do we see it? I'll tell you, we see it everywhere. And I think this past Sunday, we even saw it at the White House. The fact that Biden would not allow Easter eggs with religious symbolism on them, that is a manifestation of this cultural Marxism. Because what does Marxism want to do? It wants to eradicate all religion. It wants to eradicate the family. And, we're seeing it absolutely everywhere now. And, it's also behind the whole transgender ideology. And again, not everybody will self-identify as Marxist, but you can be sure it is Marxism that's at the root of this.
Katie, one of the most dangerous things is that they're not calling it Marxism. They're wrapping it up in this sort of much nicer, much more digestible language, like it's kindness, especially with the transgender ideology. You want to be kind. You want to support even the word gender-affirming surgery, gender-affirming care. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about the language that they use.
Oh, it's such a good point. One of my favorite moments in researching the book was when I called Riley Gaines, who, has been such a brave spokesperson defending women in sports. And she said to me, one of the things that she learned along the way is that we absolutely cannot use the left's language. And she stopped using terms like gender transition surgery, because she said the bottom line is you can't transition gender, right? But this is why I think our book is actually so important and so timely, because you're right, the left does not use that red flag term Marxism for the most part, right? They hide it. There are professors who will use it, but for the most part, they don't use it. But it's so important that Americans understand that it is in fact Marxism, and what Marxism is all about is two sides at war with each other, and only one can win. And I'm sorry, that is fundamentally un-American, right? As Americans, we know that we can work together to solve problems.
We're speaking with Katie Gorka. She's the co-author, along with Mike Gonzalez, of the new book. It's out today, Next Gen Marxism, What It Is and How to Combat It. And, of course, I first learned about this when I read Andrew Breitbart's book, when he talked about the Frankfurt School and the intellectuals who brought the Marxism here to American academia. It's now all over the university system. When one wonders why suddenly college kids are taking the sides of the Hamas terrorists, that's what this is. This is manifest of that mentality. But let's face it, Katie, ultimately, whenever Marxism tries to take over a country and take over a culture, there's violence, there's bloodshed. What was the Antifa movement and the BLM activities of 2020? Was that sort of a precursor to what we have in store for us?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're right. You know, history tells us again and again that socialism, Marxism can only result in tyranny because that's the only way it can survive. You know, people do eventually wake up to the reality of what socialism brings. And yes, 100%, what we saw in 2020 is, you know, a taste of things to come if we continue down this path. And just to be clear, you know, one of the things that Mike and I, you know, just talk about in the book is the fact that those events, those, you know, the violent protests, the destructive protests, those were not spontaneous. Those were absolutely engineered by these groups. And that's also really important for people to understand, especially those who kind of got sucked up in it, thinking that they were sort of doing a good thing by going out and carrying the Black Lives Matter sign. No, they've been manipulated. They've been used.
And it's a macro issue, as you're discussing, in terms of what we see in our streets and our college campuses and, frankly, is in the hallways of Congress. But this is also very much a micro issue. I think many parents during the pandemic and during BLM and stuff, we saw it at our kitchen table when our kids were encouraged to confront us over our politics in our own home at our kitchen tables, and they are being encouraged either by teachers or professors or by influencers in social media. And that sort of brings us back to the Mao conversation and the Cultural Revolution, where children, I mean, you tell me, you've done the research, I'm sure it's in your book, with regard to how children are now being militarized against their own families.
Oh, 100%. And I think this is something that's not being talked about enough. And it is actually really frightening how our children are being manipulated to become little social justice warriors. There are so many programs and courses in our kids' schools now that are about activism, teaching kids to be activists. It is so frightening and so manipulative, and you know, more parents need to wake up to this. And you know, it's not being talked about enough. No. It is very scary.
Well, this is why the book is important. Next Gen Marxism. I love when the dogs chime in. That's the best part. That's because Seb just woke up.
You're 100% right.
What it is and how to combat it. And listen, I known Katie Gorka long enough to know that despite the very real concerns addressed in this book, Katie, you have a Reagan-esque optimism about our future. You believe that our best days are ahead of us. We just need to address this. We need to take care of it now so we can reach those better days. And so I appreciate the optimistic outlook here too. If you don't mind, can I put a pause on the selling of the book for a quick second? Because there's one other thing I want to mention. The Republicans in Fairfax County, if you happen to be a registered delegate, Katie Gorka is running for chairman of the Fairfax GOP.
Oh.
And, you know, if you've been wanting to see some more action and some more excitement there within the Republican Party in Fairfax County, Katie Gorka might be a good choice for you. So if you are a registered delegate, I'd love for you to look into that and investigate. And here's her personal phone number if you want to ask her any questions. It's no, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that.
You're so rude.
Katie, congrats on the book and good luck with the campaign to be chair of the Republican Party there in Fairfax.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Actually, they can reach me through my website, katieforfairfax.com.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Katie. That's Katie Gorka. The book is Next Gen Marxism, What It Is and How to Combat It. 7:15.